I kind of had a dream about living in an old farmhouse. We are gardeners. We wanted to go outside and farm. So the house just had to be a pleasant place to live. You can walk a little bit. All right. It's good for your feet to walk on the stones.
For us, it was a bit of independence, right? So if we could not get a mortgage and then be debt-free. So we built on purpose a quite cheap house.
You built your home by hand, like hand tools?
Yeah, I mean, we use plenty of tools, but we decided we wanted to just try to be off-grid in Denmark, which is hard with just solar panels because there's not a lot of sun in the winter. So we had a cordless drill, but we didn't use any power tools otherwise. So there was a lot of hand sawing. And we have like a roundwood timber frame. All these got put up. So we started this house in 2012. This was all a barley field in 2011. So just to give a perspective, right? And how much trees will grow in the last 12 years. But yeah, then we basically erected this timber frame and put a roof on. It's a funky house, a small house. We were not at all experienced house builders at the time. We were young and ready to go for it, so we just jumped in. So this part you're looking at here is actually our expansion. So 2 winters ago, we built another 15 square meters onto the house because of Aaen. The original part of the house is, the original wall is here. This part is straw bales. Yeah, you can see the wood construction. We like the rustic feel. Even the boards that we've gotten also have like natural edges.
Yeah.
Come on.
So you did all of this yourself?
Yeah.
How many square feet? Or sorry, square meters?
So it's 27 square meters in 2 levels. And then we have the expanded part, which is about 15 square meters. It's about 80, 85-ish square meters actual living area, which is amazing space. Like it's plenty for us, even in winter when we're a lot inside.
This is really filling a lot of the core of the house. It's a mass oven. You know, we have like a daily routine where it's pretty dark by 4 p.m. And then we will come in if we were outside working on something, come in, start a fire. We can actually cook dinner on the stove. And then that's kind of the focal point of the evening. So we're feeding it. When we fire this up, it's about 3 hours that we fire, and then it's done and we shut it down. So we do that every evening. It's kind of the focal point of the house at that time, I guess, in the winter.
When you were designing the house, were you thinking about how it would look? I mean, it really looks like a classic cottage.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we wanted to live in. A really old farmhouse that's rustic and stuff. So let's just build a new one. We didn't have any money, any capital to start with. So we built a quite cheap house. We wanted it to be relatively quick to build because we wanted to be debt-free earlier. You know, we're not carpenters either. So, you know, it's actually a pretty simple design. So, you know, we didn't make it circular and all these kinds of shapes. We made it square, we made it simple.
It was this design that made the most sense. Combining it with it having to be possible for us to build by ourselves. So like 90 degrees, 45 degrees is something you can do with a normal saw. You don't have to be very skilled to do that, obviously, because we were able to do it. And the rustic part comes partly because we don't really care for details that much. I think it's like it's the function that has to serve. Let's see some dancing. And then the detail, like it starts to bore us, and then we move on to the next thing that needs to be done. It's been more and more strict with getting a building permit. We were lucky, relatively lucky, that when we applied, all the building materials that we wanted to use had already been tested and approved. Yes. So we could just copy paste what previous self-builders had done with using straw, using clay. But the thickness of the wall, like we knew exactly what to do in order to fulfill and get all the ticks on the building application approved. We wanted it to be simple to build, and we wanted it to be functional. It serves all the functions that we need in a house. It's natural materials, it's healthy to be in. The roof was actually meant to be a thatch roof. So we were growing rye the first year and wanted to thatch it, but then ended up with these shingles instead because we were afraid with the thatch roof, fires and stuff.
So this is straw bale with clay, plaster on the outside and inside. But then we expanded this part of the house, and this part is actually a wood frame and then stuffed with sheep's wool. So just straight off the sheep, stuffed in.
Expensive?
Not that expensive, no. It's a waste product here. There's no wool spinning industry here. So it basically, everybody that has sheep, they get them sheared, and it's basically a waste product.
Nice.
And there's wool from 800 sheep in this whole new part. It's not that big, so it's a lot of wool.
And the walls you see are really thick.
Yeah, these are very thick straw bales. So that's partly why we did the wools, to make them a little bit narrower.
But this is necessary for the climate, to have something thick.
Oh yeah, it's not like extremely cold in Denmark in the winter, but it's very windy, and it can be very cold. You know, we can have icy winters that are really long.
To some people, it's kind of like a dream to build your own house. At the same time, it's super scary to a lot of people.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because they consider permits.
So that it wasn't difficult, but we did have issues with us wanting to use recycled windows. So all the windows and doors that we have in the house are old ones from buildings that have been torn down or replaced. So we had to get special permit to use these windows, especially the two ones facing south. We've even had to say that, okay, if we ever sell the house, we will have to replace those two windows with new ones. It's a little annoying having to do that, but we're not intending to sell the house. We built the house for us. And so if one day we have to do it, then so be it. It's been so cheap for us to build, and we've been allowed to build the house that we really wanted using the materials that we wanted. So if we have to change a few things, if we are to sell it, then that's okay.
What did it end up costing you?
About $30,000 to.
Wow. The real expense is the labor.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's your time.
Exactly. So we've upgraded. So these are all 12-volt lights. We've actually upgraded our solar system twice now. Maybe you could say we could have just done it from the beginning, but everything's kind of changed and developed as well. So the system we have now, it didn't really exist when we started this. So it was a lot more primitive system. We had to get everything and put it together. And we basically did that ourselves. And now we're actually attached to the grid, but none of this is on the grid. So we have the grid that can hook into our batteries. And then we have a couple of plugs in the house that are grid plugs for a vacuum cleaner and for a blender, because there's so much energy that comes at one time that it can actually mess with our system. So we decided to put a few, and that way we have a bit of a redundancy. If something breaks on the 12-volt system, we have power still. So this is a mass oven, so it's like a rocket stove, mass heater. We fire up on this side, and then all the heat and stuff goes along through here. There's an oven here after you're done, so we can bake bread just with the residual heat from the firing. While we're firing, we can boil water, heat water, and then heats our house. And we don't use very much wood. We have a radiator that's sitting inside up against the core of the combustion chamber inside. And then that water, when it heats up, it goes up one pipe through into a water heater. The colder water sinks down and gets reheated, and the whole thing circulates. There's no pumps or anything involved. It's actually completely passive, which was really important for us. We were off grid, and it was like in the winter, we can't have a pump going, you know. But there was a few other people here that had developed this kind of system. And we asked a plumber in the beginning, we're like, can you make this for us? And he was like, I don't know how you do that without a pump. So we got one of our neighbors to plumb this part in. All the smoke and stuff from the stove, instead of sending that kind of hot smoke, sending all that heat and stuff out of the house immediately, we've put it into this bench here, and the bench continues under our bathtub in here. So there's just a little bit of extra thermal mass, so we can pull a little bit more heat out of the smoke before it ends up coming up to the chimney here and going out of the house. So the bench is here, and the smoke comes down. It goes down under this wall and under this bathtub here, and then it circles around and heads back to the chimney.
And so that works.
Yeah, I mean, we can't put water in here and heat it that way, but it heats the house. There's extra heat coming in the house.
And doing the plumbing, was that difficult?
Karoline is pretty good at plumbing. I'm not so good. We're required to have someone attach it to the municipal water that's coming in. But after that, you're allowed to do the plumbing in your house. Karoline did it.
So when designing our kitchen, we wanted it to be on the north to not have any direct sunlight on our food. We dry a lot of things and want it visible in the kitchen. So we have it sitting on a north-facing wall. And we have hardy kiwi outside the window to shade, so we don't have any sun coming in. And because it's a small house, the kitchen also had to be built in and has this horseshoe shape because it gives a nice workflow, you know, sink central here and then a little bit of workspace and the stove. And it's just small, but it's all thought of and based on our previous experiences with where we've lived. And then we have this room out here that is like a must. So we produce a lot of food, as you'll see, and we need to be able to store it. So this is like, we call it the cold room. It gets much colder in winter. So this is where we store all our canned goods. We store all our root crops when they are harvested. We have all of our juices and wine.
So these are all from your fruit?
Yeah, yeah.
Really? So
yeah.
what do you have?
We have quince juice, we have silverberry, echinacea juice, aronia. We also have sea buckthorn juice. We grow a fair bit of tomatillo and use that instead of tomato sauce. We also have rosehip sauce, which is really, really nice as a substitute for tomatoes.
The temperature here is a good place to store food, right?
Yeah, exactly. When we were designing the house, we were thinking, okay, a root cellar out in the garden somewhere. And then it was like, if it's right next, how about, where should we put it? You know, and then eventually it ended up right next to the kitchen door.
It's allowing us to use all the stuff that we produce. If we had to walk far to get our food into the house, into the kitchen, it'd be easy to just do pasta or something like that for dinner, you know?
And then you see outside here, you have sort of a greenhouse.
Yeah, so we have this extra room built on, not insulated, but it's kind of it's a climate screen, you could say. Okay. So it keeps the wind off the house. On the shoulder season, it's actually really nice to sit in here when it's like a little bit cold outside, raining, something like that. That's actually really nice. We can kind of feel like we're eating outside. It's kind of a half outside space.
Yeah.
It's more or less kind of a protection for the house. The clay walls, they can't take any rain, so it just protects the house.
And you're growing a fig?
So we have a fig there, yeah. Actually, it's getting pretty close there. I think another couple of weeks, probably.
Yeah.
Is that ready? It's pretty close, pretty close. If anything, our room isn't big enough for it. we have to trim so much and just pushing against the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've cut it back sometimes to limit it a bit. We have some other things. This is a feijoa pineapple guava. They don't fruit unless you hand pollinate them. Yeah, it's mostly experimental stuff. And the same with the pomegranate here. We always hope that the bees are going to do it, but they never do.
Oh.
We have our main greenhouse over here. Yeah. So this is actually our washroom. We have an outdoor shower in the summer. It's passively heated. If you do it in the right time of day, this black pipe just goes around inside the greenhouse. And the water gets the temperature that the greenhouse is. So right now we have 32 degrees Celsius. That's an amazing shower. And then it falls off in the evening. So if you want to take a shower at 10 at night, it's not warm. But we have a gas heater also, so you can also take a warm.
And you time your showers.
We time our showers a bit.
So the piping for the shower goes all the way back.
Yeah, it's 30 meters long. We did a calculation on it. We're like, so how many meters do we need in this greenhouse to make a shower? We calculated 30 meters will give us 2 showers a day. Because that was kind of not like really long shower. One like really nice long shower or 2 quick rinse kind of showers. Yeah. And we have rainwater collection here. And the reason that's inside the greenhouse is also for thermal mass, because it heats up in the day and then slowly releases heat through the night for the greenhouse. There are a few varieties of grapes that will ripen in Denmark, but this is an amazing like seedless grape just for eating. You know, this is kind of our entrance. We walk here, and this way we're producing something over. So it's like still using the space, and it's very productive, as you can see. We have a small nursery business, so in the spring, this whole thing gets filled, getting their start for the year here before they get moved outside when it gets warmer in May. And it's not quite tomato season yet, but it's getting closer and closer.
And these tomatoes are just for you all? These tomatoes for
These ones are just for us.
Okay.
These are our personal tomatoes, yeah. We have another one out for our customers outside.
And you built the greenhouse as well?
We built the greenhouse, yeah. We bought basically 2x4s from a sawmill. And then it's glass walls and this insulated thermal roofing. And that helps. Like winter, you know, we don't really grow much out here in winter. But in the spring, when we get to spring frosts, it can be really, really damaging on all of our nursery. And just having that extra layer on the roof really helps with those really exceptional spring frost nights. So
And you do laundry out here too.
yeah, this is our laundry room too.
Recycle water?
All the gray water comes out over here to the grapevine, and the shower water goes. There's also pomegranate here, and pawpaw tree.
Do you have a shower indoors?
We do, yeah, but it's only heated when we fire in the house, so we don't actually have warm water in the summer.
There was a butterfly. You saw that? Yeah.
Yeah, butterfly.
A butterfly. Gonna go through the garden here now, I can.
So here we're on the north side of the house. This is our forest garden.
And a forest garden is what?
It's an edible ecosystem based on a forest. Instead of letting nature just put a bunch of random species in and make a young forest, we're designing it so we've got the different species are species that give something to us. Instead of just random trees, it's fruit trees, and instead of random shrubs and stuff, it's berry bushes.
What is that? Blueberry?
Blueberries.
So you planted them, they're not wild.
This is all planted. This was a bare field 12 years ago. It's a jungle, edible jungle.
Your soil looks so. How much you build up on top?
Quite a lot now, yeah. Yeah, like we only added to it in the first year. And then since then, the abundance of the biomass that's created every year, all this green mass gets composted in place and adds organic matter to the soil. And so the soil is getting deeper and better all the time. All the ground cover, everything you see basically is edible, or at least has a function. We have herbs, like this is called sweet cicely. This is one of the vegetables that there is still, and it's perennial, right? So we're not out here planting plants each year. It just comes by itself. And all this, and all disappears in the winter down to the soil again, and it gets really open. And then it just pops out of the ground again the next year. These are berries. These are aronia berries.
And this is for like a jam or?
Jams or juices, yeah. Okay. These are really high in antioxidants. These are gooseberries. You can see how shady it is, and they still produce really, really well. All these plants are evolved in half foresty environments, so they're able to grow in this environment. It's a great walnut year. This is actually, last year was the first time they gave anything, and now it's just loaded with walnuts. That's 12 years.
And that's your property? You planted this one?
Yeah. And we have the forest garden as kind of our background. We had that for 12 years, and then 7 years ago we got this piece. And we have a 30-year lease on it, so we can play a bit for 30 years and just see what we can do. The world economy is kind of makes it hard to live on farming, right? But it's not impossible. So you have
How do you make it work?
So you have to do it smartly, I guess you could say, intensively. Like we don't have any tractor or anything, so our costs are very low. It's just our work. For us, it's all about experimenting because farming has gone more and more to kind of separation and specialization. So, either you have only animals or you're only growing crops, and then you have to import all these nutrients from somewhere, and it's a problem. It's an economic problem and so on. How can we have both on the farm and integrate them? I mean, we used to do this everywhere, but it's kind of a rare thing in agriculture now. So that this way, how can the animals and the plants be integrated? And then also together with trees, because trees are an integral part of ecosystems. We need to have them on our farms so our farmers act more like ecosystems and do the services that ecosystems give us. So what we have out here is, this is an agroforestry playground for us, right? So we are trying to see examples of trees integrated with other things. Section right here, it's trees integrated with vegetables. Other places, it's trees integrated with animals. And how does that work?
Lige nu vi har etableret de her foderrækker af træer, som har spiselige blade til dyrene.
The first 4 years or something like that, you could almost not see any growth. Yeah. And then the last 2 to 3 years, everything just started taking off. And now it's starting to feel a bit like it's not a forest, it's not supposed to feel like a forest, but it's maybe more like an open, early successional woodland. So we have like some openings, little fields here and there, but also some kind of shady areas. So it's a mix of two ecosystems where we have forest and meadow that meet and create a lot of biodiversity as well. Along all the fruit trees, we actually grow berries. So we have a whole row of aronia berries along this row of fruit trees. And then we have a pasture here which is in rotation for the goats. We'll put an electric fence in here, set it up, and then the goats will be grazing here for 3 days, and then we'll close it off and it'll go to a new place. But we get milk. Those are just for us, milk. But they're an important part of the ecosystem that cycle all the biomass and build soil. So they're always on the move. They don't have a paddock more than about 3 days. And so that piece of land can rest long enough that the grass can recover, and also that it breaks parasite cycles and stuff like that. So it's really important that they're in different places. This is how we partly at least cut grass out here. So it moves, it's on wheels. So these are meat rabbits. It's a biological lawnmower.
It's how we want to have the animals. Like, we want to have them integrated in the farm, otherwise it doesn't make sense to have them. So we have the meat rabbits and we have geese that are only fed what the place can produce. Our chickens and ducks, they do require a little bit of grain because they need a little more protein. All the herbivores that we have, they're a complete part of the farm here, and we adjust the number every year to how much grass we have available. So there's a constant adaptation to what conditions we have. And I really like that. Whatever vegetable that's not eaten by our customer, it's either eaten by an animal or composted on site, or us. We're trying to close the cycle as much as possible.
This was all, it was an overgrazed pasture, and so it was very degraded. There was a very, very poor soil, and we're still working with building it up so it can even grow anything, really. People have had a really poor understanding of soil for a long, long, long time. When the whole farm degrades and then you can't grow crops anymore and people abandon it, then it gets rebuilt. That's historically, if you look back, that's basically what's happened. But now we have a lot more understanding of soil and how it works. We can do much more and we can take care of it a lot easier.
So you keep seeing trees, rows of trees every
14 meters, there's a row of trees. It's windbreak, it's biodiversity belt. It's a little bit of shade sometimes. It's fertility cycling. All these are different fruits. We have hazelnuts and elderberries, and then we have these alders between almost all of the fruit trees out here. And they fix nitrogen, so they're kind of fertilizing the area. And then they grow up and give shade and create kind of a forest environment in the soil, so our other trees can grow faster.
Oh no.
What's that, duck?
Oh, they're out. You hear the ducks, Aaen? I think the ducklings are hiding in the kale.
Okay, we'll get those later, I guess. Maybe one has gone through.
There is a mom.
Oh, there is a
with them.
mom with them.
Yeah, it's not that urgent.
We also do some kind of just fun self-sufficiency crops here. This is rye. So this is for our rye bread here.
So you're going to harvest the rye?
Yeah, we'll harvest this. It's all by hand. Most people think it's not even possible without machines or something. But then you think about history, there's a reason people have done it, right? That's a pretty good hourly wage, actually. When you have just a few simple tools, then you can do it, we harvest it with a sickle, and it really doesn't take long at all. If we had more space, then it would be more worth it to have bigger tools somehow. Tons of farmers are having trouble making ends meet because they have these debts that they're paying. There's the bank that's saying all the time, you got to pay this, you got to pay this, got to pay this. Then they don't take any risk at all, and they just continue doing what they've always done. This is really small, this will take an hour to harvest, and then to thresh about an hour. And then clean it about an hour. So maybe 3 hours of work, and we'll have, I don't know, 20 or 30 kilos probably. It's actually, yeah, just for us. It's for fun, you know. It's probably almost what we use in a year. And then oats as well.
It's for rolled oats.
And you'll make your own rolled oats.
Same thing, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And the goats have actually just been in here, and you almost can't see it.
You do see that the farm next door is just packed with corn.
Yeah, that's our corn neighbor. It's very not diverse, what gets grown in Denmark. Very few crops, actually.
But it's hard to do what you're doing. Isn't it easier just to go with one crop?
Not really. You know, you have to be able to manage it all. Like, it's a very complex system that we're managing. And, you know, not everybody wants to do that. I get that. But it's also like, it's much funner than just dealing with one crop. And because we have a lot of different crops, the work gets spread throughout the year. These pumpkins aren't like regular pumpkins, they're naked seed pumpkins. You take the seeds, dry them for our kitchen, and then the goats get all the actual pumpkin. They just get ground up for them. So. This is our hazelnut grove where we're grazing chickens underneath. We're trying a lot of different things, so that's the benefit of it, you could say. But you have to, it gets complicated up here sometimes, yeah. And we kind of split it. We do it together, but mentally, she has the animals. I have all the vegetables and the seed crops and stuff in my head. Like, oh, now it's this time of year, we have to do this and that, and we divide it that way so we can mentally kind of grasp it.
This is a lot of things going on.
It is complex, yeah.
Well, that's what makes it fun for us, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
It would start to get a little bit boring if it was just the same. You know, if we only grew vegetables, for example, I love growing vegetables, but it's so much funner that we also interact every day. We interact with the animals, we interact with the trees, and we have to do all these different tasks in one day. So it's important that it's dried in a dark place. So we have them all stacked up here in our woodshed. They're already pretty dry. Not quite dry enough to powder.
Can you explain this beautiful drawing here? I have an intuition here.
Yes. Okay, so over here in the corner we have a chimney here and a brick wall here. The chimney goes all the way through the roof, of course, and it's kind of attached to the roof. And when it's windy, the chimney moves just a little bit, right? The whole house sways. We're not talking a lot, but a tiny bit of movement, which means this clay attaching here, because this one is not supposed to move, of course, this whole indoor wall. It means there's a crack that opens up here. It's unavoidable, like we can't actually, the way we built it, the chimney would have to stand alone for it not to be there. So instead of just having a kind of ugly crack, we've made it into a vine.
And it's also like almost a living wall.
It's true. It's dynamic, right? It's moving, it's...
Because you like climbed up. I told Dad about how high you climbed.
You went up on the rope ladder?
You climbed
up on that?
Don't you think it was fun? And then there was a tree house at the very top.
Wow. Tree house?